For over 15 years, Saturdays and Illegal Curve have been synonymous with one another. With insights, analysis, and interviews regarding the Winnipeg Jets, the Manitoba Moose, and all around the NHL, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mindell. The Illegal Curve Hockey Show, presented by Play Now, the official sports betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets, starts now.
You know how I know it's time to start the show? I mean, yes, 9 o'clock is generally a good indicator that it's time to start the show. But when the pre-show conversation delves into the topic of AI robots and how they're going to replace us in all walks of life, that's how I really know it's time that we get started on the Saturday morning edition of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. So with that in mind, I'm a real person. Dave's a real person. Hell knows about Ezzy. I mean, we've never known about that for years. But I'll say good morning, Winnipeg. Good morning, Manitoba. And for all those joining us live this morning on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good morning, universe, and welcome to the AI-free Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Gentlemen, great to see you both on this Saturday morning. Big sports day ahead. You got the Bombers in Montreal, the start of the playoffs as they look to make an unexpected run to the Grey Cup. You have the Jets and the Penguins in about 5 hours time. You got a Game 7 a little bit later. Lots going on in the world of sports. But topic number one has to be the concerning level of coffee crisp my children got last night. Not nearly enough, people. I need more coffee crisp. You've all fallen down on your job, and I will not stand for it. I will replace you, if I have to, with some sort of AI-generated coffee crisp machine.
How much coffee crisps did you eat last night? Let's be honest here, Drew. How many?
I only had one. I'm going to have more. I only had one last night. I try and pace myself. And, you don't get this svelte body of an Adonis by gorging on too many coffee crisps.
You build a body like that.
That's right. But I have to work to it. I have to, level up to my full-on winter coffee crisp body. And you people aren't doing your part.
Your body does look like a little bar of coffee crisp, Drew. That is kind of your shape of your body.
Yeah, instead of being Mr. Peanut, I'm going to dress as a coffee crisp for Halloween next year. But I hope everybody was safe last night, trick-or-treating, and gave out a lot of candy, and everybody had a good time. And now we can focus our attention as the month of November takes place. And as we all expected, tonight's matchup, this afternoon's matchup, an epic clash between the top in the NHL Pittsburgh Penguins and the third place in the NHL Winnipeg Jets. I got to say, it's fun to see Crosby. It's fun to see Malkin regardless, but it is something a little bit extra juice when they are back to being, at least to start the month, for the first month of the season, they're a very good Pittsburgh Penguins team.
You know what I've been thinking a lot about, guys, lately is obviously the Pens are led by Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin. And there always is the chance, guys, that this is Malkin's last year. He said this could be his last year. Yeah. Doesn't mean that he won't play another year. But what I keep thinking about, Dave, is like how much I think as the season progresses, we're going to be talking more and more about how we have to cherish like every single time these guys play, because these guys are obviously future Hall of Famers, both of them. Like first ballot, nobody's even going to argue that. When you're talking about Sidney Crosby, guys, I could talk for 2 hours about how great of a player Sidney Crosby is.
That's great. The show's 2 hours long. Dave, see you later.
All right.
Well,
bye.
no, but I mean, guys, like Sidney Crosby, I think, he's in that conversation. He's in that conversation.
We gave you an out and you took it.
Yeah. And maybe it's because, we were there back in I'm not sure. I forget if Dave was there in Grand Forks. I know Drew and I were there in Grand Forks when Sidney Crosby was a 16-year-old playing for Team Canada at the World Juniors. And it's just like, obviously Team Canada blew out the competition in Grand Forks, won gold. And it was just like, to me, that was like the beginning of just a generational career, right? Like the Stanley Cups, the Olympic golds, like the accolades, right? Like I think I can safely say he's a top 10 player of all time. And I think he's arguably a top 5 forward of all time, right? Like Gretzky's the GOAT, Mario Lemieux's in there. I mean, there's other guys that you throw in there, Gordie Howe, Mark Messier, but like all I'm trying to say is, like, to Drew's point, it's a special time when Sidney Crosby's in town and you get to watch him, because he's like, yes, the future, the current and future generation, of Connor McDavids and Macklin Celebrinis and Connor Bedards and all that. But let's not forget that Sidney Crosby, we're watching a guy who's a living legend. And the thing is, Dave, at 38 years old, he's still over a point a game. Like it's not like
he's having a terrific year to start.
Well, it's not like Crosby, and that's, to me, that's the pure greatness of Crosby, is that just go to Hockey DB. I like to do that sometimes, and just look at Sidney Crosby's stats. You just look year after year, point per game, like 90 points, 100 points, 90 points. You know what I mean? Like there's just no fall off. So I know I'm going on a rant here, but I just think, we're going to appreciate more and more Crosby and Malkin, because these are the last years for these guys, and it's just great to see them. I think it's always a good thing when Crosby and Malkin are in the playoffs, if they continue on this trajectory and end up making the playoffs.
Well, they've certainly got themselves off to a good start with their record. I mean, as everyone has alluded to, a shocking 8-2-2 start for the Pittsburgh Penguins this year. But it's to further Ezzy's point, Dave, I think it is going to be it's nice to see. I mean, for anybody, even if you have no rooting interest in the game today, I think hockey fans around the world, at some point in time, they will recognize today, God forbid that the national networks give it the coverage that it's due, but they won't, but that's okay. But at some point in time, I think tonight, hockey fans will realize that Sidney Crosby and Jonathan Toews are facing off against each other, something we really did not expect to still be possible in the year 2025. And that's something to, I think, appreciate before you even get started into the game. And then, of course, the game and the results end up sort of overwhelming everything else. Before puck drop, I won't be surprised if there's a bit of a wink between Toews and Crosby, a bit of an acknowledgement that both of these graybeards are back out here doing battle against one another yet again, and the respect that each of them have for one another.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Drew. And it's so funny. You're right. Ezzy's right. I mean, it is such a treat still to be able to watch these guys play and to see them playing at a high level. And that's the other thing. Obviously, Toews is still working his way back. But, I mean, for Sidney Crosby to be doing what he's doing, for Evgeny Malkin to be doing what he's doing, for them to have 17 points and 15 points and be right amongst the league leaders, it's surprising. And Scott Arniel took a little bit of a shot at the media yesterday. He said you geniuses, although none of us. I mean, we didn't really focus that much on the Pittsburgh Penguins. We focus our attention generally on the Jets, Ezzy, but he was talking about the pundits in general and how they were essentially writing off the Penguins this year. And, the Penguins obviously didn't do particularly well last year. But, yes, this is why I think, and actually Danielle made this point, and she'll be on, Danielle Bain of TSN will be on with us in about 20 minutes. But she made this point about how year to year, things can change unexpectedly. And You can't really just rest on your laurels and say, well, okay, this team did this. And that's why we said, look, when we looked at the Jets' schedule after playing Dallas and LA, we said, well, the Jets' schedule is relatively easy because these are mostly non-playoff teams. Well, this is a team that was a non-playoff team, and you're like, okay, this should be, again, based on the original part. We always know they're in an interesting battle, but you thought maybe this would be not necessarily the first place, as Drew said, Pittsburgh Penguins. So it is definitely nice to see Sidney Crosby he's always elite. And Mark Scheifele talked about it yesterday in the media availability, which of course is on our YouTube channel. He essentially said, I think Kelly Moore asked him, what was his, does he remember going up the first time going up against him? And as you'll like the story, he basically was like, yeah, no, I do remember it. I won my first faceoff, and apparently I came back to the bench and I had the biggest smile on my face. And Chris Thorburn was like, well, okay, I guess you're done. You don't have to worry about playing anymore. And he just said it is a treat for him to, get a chance to go up against Sidney Crosby and face off. But Drew, I never really thought about it from that perspective, but it definitely can be interesting to watch Toews and Crosby face off.
And one thing, Drew, I just wanted to mention, like I said, I have a lot of time for Sidney Crosby just because I think he's easily one of the best players of all time. He's 21 points behind Mario Lemieux, who sits 8th all time in career points. So Mario's got 1723. By the way, Mario did that in 915 games, which is just absurd. So Crosby's played 1,364 regular season games. So Crosby's 21 points behind Mario. So he's going to pass him, sometime probably in late November, December. And then he's only 53 points behind Steve Yzerman at 7th overall. So these are the players that you're talking about he's going to pass this year. Lemieux, Yzerman, these are some of the best players of all time.
And he would have been leaps and bounds ahead of them if it wasn't for the injury troubles early in his career. we sort of forget
point.
about the concussion issues that he went through. I guess how many, I mean, I don't remember even how many years into his career that would have been.
You're talking like 12 or 13 years ago. Yeah.
Probably maybe even longer than that. But yeah, I mean, you remember there was fear that his career was going to be cut short, because of the multitude of concussions he had, and then all the rigorous training, and it's all been documented. And there's, I think, different, videos about it online. You can go back and watch. But remember, like, he was sort of at the forefront of not concussion awareness, because we knew about it, but he was almost the biggest name to be felled by concussion issues for a long period of his career. And just think about all those games he missed out on in his prime. Not that his prime has lasted for 20 years as it happens, but think about all those extra games he'd have on top of it. Look, we know what our focus typically is here on this program, and it's the Jets' perspective. But really, we see Sidney Crosby here once a year. I don't think, despite the Penguins' great start, despite where the Jets are, I don't think anybody is predicting a Jets-Penguins Stanley Cup final come May and June. So appreciate Sidney Crosby here in town today, because we don't know how many more opportunities there will be for him to be in town. Of course, wearing a Penguins jersey, because I'm sure he'll be traded to McKinnon and the Avs in about 6 months' time or so. I say tongue firmly in cheek.
Yeah, and just to show you again, like, we're obviously going to focus more on the Jets, but we're talking about the Pens, who they play in, like you said, Drew, in about 5 hours or less than 5 hours now at this point, right? What's so crazy about this is Vegas. I was reading an article about this. The Vegas odds for Pittsburgh to make the playoffs was 9%. At the beginning of the year, like, not to win the Stanley Cup, that was to make the playoffs, right? So what we're saying is nobody predicted what the Pittsburgh Penguins are doing. And yes, it's early here. We're 10 or 11 games into the season. But I mean, it's still, like Drew said, that's still, we're getting close to 15% of the season being done here. So whether the Penguins make the playoffs or not, it's been a great start to the season for them. And it's just great to see, like we've said, it's great to see Crosby and Malkin succeeding. And also, we'll probably get more into this around 10 o'clock, but Tristan Jarry, guys, he was sent down to the American Hockey League last year. So this is a guy who, like, a lot of people were writing off, and he's had a really good start to the season. So good for Tristan Jarry, who's under contract, I think, for another 2 or 3 years, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody might want to fact check me on that. But it's nice to see Tristan Jarry doing well, because, like I said, Dave, last year it was a disaster for him last year.
Yeah, he's got 2 years left after this year, and they also picked up from Vancouver Archer Silovs, and they're really in a timeshare. They've each, I think, started 6 games, but the Penguins are getting great goaltending from both Jarry and Silovs. We don't know who the starting goalie for the Penguins is going to be in tonight's contest. It was Tristan Jarry on Thursday in Minnesota, where they went into St. Paul and they absolutely embarrassed the Wild on home ice. Yeah. So, we're not sure who's going to be the starting goalie for the Pittsburgh Penguins, but by the sounds of things, the starting goalie for the Winnipeg Jets this afternoon is not going to be Connor Hellebuyck. It's going to be Eric Comrie, noted Toronto Blue Jays fan, definitely doesn't like the Los Angeles Dodgers. If you saw that video on the Jets social media yesterday.
Or on our YouTube page.
On our YouTube page as well, of course it is. But it sounds like Eric Comrie's going to get the start. I guess your thoughts, Dave, on Comrie getting the start over Hellebuyck in this afternoon's matinee. They've been talking about, getting Hellebuyck fewer games and more days off and things of that nature. Well, if it is Comrie, and assuming he plays all 60 minutes, that's going to give Hellebuyck a nice break of time right here early in the year.
Yeah, I'm inclined. We were talking about it yesterday while watching practice. The belief is that Eric Comrie will get the start today. We did speak to Eric Comrie yesterday. Not that that's any necessarily an indication. He did say he joked with us before he got started that he was the backup choice for us to speak with yesterday. And he was once teammates with Artur Silovs, who was briefly a member of the Manitoba Moose during a period of time. So.
Drew, Dave will always bring it back to the Moose somehow.
Honestly, I didn't know that. So this is one of the few times where his Moose ramblings are relevant for my information's sake.
Dave, two nights ago, it was Austin Pagansky, who a lot of people forget played for the Jets and Moose, obviously. And now it's Artur Silovs.
Well, I will tell you, Drew, that, I knew it, but I'm actually not the one who brought it up. Eric Comrie brought it up in our media availability yesterday when he was, it was during that I think it was during that COVID year actually, and then I think he had the
he'll ask the questions and answer the questions. That's how good Eric Comrie is for the media.
If anybody pays attention, he is one of the most engaging guys. But anyways, so yeah, he is been really good for the Moose, for the Jets, of course, since he started. Ooh, Drew, that's a fine. Leaving your phone on, tisk tisk.
My family's leaving the house. That's just my ring camera informing me.
But anyways, the point is
they're not leaving the house, Dave. They're actually fleeing the house. They're like, quick,
like,
go now.
He's busy. Let's go get. He's busy. We've dropped a pile of coffee crisps to distract him. We can now flee. But anyways, yeah, no, I'm not surprised. I mean, this is one of the things that if you really, even though the schedule isn't super dense right now, it's not one that is overtaxing on Connor Hellebuck. If you're truly determined to get him to reduce his starts to below 60, then this is what you have to do. That even in the games when it's not difficult in terms of the stretch of time,
it's not a back-to-back, it's not a 3 and 4.
No, and in fact, none of the, like, if you look, they play today, then they don't play again until Tuesday. They've got lots of time between games. So if Connor Hellebuck played today, he would have had a good gap. But the point is, it's a smart way to keep both goalies engaged. You hear about, from Eric Comrie's perspective, just how much he is this partnership. That's why I'm not inclined to believe, though. I know he's in the last year of his deal, but I'm not inclined to believe he's going anywhere because they're just such a good duo, Ezzy. They really work so well together.
Like Batman and Robin.
They are. And you listen to Eric Comrie and you listen, like, again, I think it's worth listening to, but he just spoke about what he's learned from being partnered with Connor Hellebuck. And it was funny because Murat said to him, well, maybe what's one of those elements of your game? And he goes, how much time do you've got? I don't have. Yeah. I can't just give you one answer. And then he gave us one specific, but then delved into another number of other topics. So it's just clear that how much Eric Comrie and he is always quick to credit Wade Flaherty as well. Of course, the Jets goalie coach is a big reason as to why his game has improved. But yeah, he's been.
I could see Comrie not only getting a year extension. I could easily see him getting a couple years.
Well, I think yes, I don't think it's unreasonable, especially if you think about it, you've got Thomas Milic and Dom DiVincentis, your young prospect goalies with the Moose first, or I guess second and third year pro. No, yeah, at this point. But the fact of it is, they're young kids and they're green. They're still learning their craft. So yeah, if you give Comrie to have that established backup, I wouldn't be surprised, especially because we know. Again, I always analogize it to the horse races where you have the thoroughbred walk out and then the pony is beside it and the pony keeps it calm. And I'm telling you that I think that's Comrie keeps Hellebuck kind of in that mode. So I don't think it's a bad thing, and I think that that duo certainly works for the Winnipeg Jets. But especially, again, remember, Eric Comrie played well last year, but as Scott Arniel said to us yesterday, he didn't get the run support. Well, he got the run support this year. He's playing excellent in his 2 starts so far. And the Jets goaltending, let's be real, guys, is the big reason why they are where they are right now in the standings.
Yeah, absolutely. And we know the 5-on-5 play has been weak. We know the special teams have been terrific. Although the power play, I noticed I was doing my pre-show research. Power play is dipping down there a little bit. It's not
eighth
right up
now,
the top.
right?
It's now 8th. It's struggling as of late. The Penguins power play, by the way, 2nd in the NHL at 31%. So their power play is absolutely firing on all cylinders. Something for the Jets to be aware of entering into this afternoon's contest.
Well,
the Jets PK still top the league now. 91.1% success rate.
And the thing is, like, some people that watch the show or listen to the podcast might think that we spend too much time on the special teams, but look at the Penguins. I know their power play was bad last year. I'd have to go back and look, Drew, if you want to quickly bring that up. But now they have one of the top power plays, and look where they are, right? Like, so it's not a coincidence if your special teams drastically improve.
Hang on, do I want to throw you under the bus now, or should I just be nice and not mention where their power play was last year?
Was the power play good last year?
Yeah, it was 6th.
Okay, well, I mean, they were one of the worst teams in the league, right? So
I know it stands to reason that imagine how bad they would have been if their power play really was bad.
Yeah, it's true.
We love you anyways. So
forget that.
I was debating taking the high road, but the low road
no.
is the road that I travel.
Throw me under the bus. I thought Pittsburgh was struggling last year on the power play. Yeah.
The only thing
Drew doesn't just back up the bus, Dave. He runs me over a couple times along the way.
Just worth noting, though, Justin Brazeau was not skating in St. Paul yesterday at practice, so he is their 3rd leading scorer right now. Philip Tomasino, the Nashville Predators prospect, who
Come on, give us some Moose tidbits. Give us some
no,
Moose
nothing,
droppings.
no, nothing Moose. I just remember in 2019 at the draft, I'm pretty sure I advocated that the Jets, because he was a center. I thought the Jets should draft him. They didn't, but he was one of my suggestions, if I remember. So I always remember that name. But he is skating in his place. But otherwise, the lineup is the same based, and that was from the Getzoff, who's the play-by-play voice of the Penguins.
Brazo's a good guy, a good player. Sorry, from New Liskeard, Ontario. A guy that I always liked on the Bruins. Like, he wasn't like a prolific guy. He was like a bottom six forward, but he's been playing on the Evgeny Malkin line, right? So obviously that's helping him. But yeah, you're right, Dave. 12 points already this season. So obviously the Pens are hoping that Brazo is going to be in the lineup, but also again, this isn't Pens lunch, but just deviating from the Jets for a second. Another guy that they picked up that's been good, that I think has been kind of like sneaky underrated, is Anthony Mantha, right? Yeah. Like, this is a guy who used to score 20 goals for the Detroit Red Wings. And a few years ago, he scored 20 for the Capitals, but he had a pretty, down year last year in Calgary, missed a lot of games. But so these are kind of sneaky good acquisitions by Dubas, Brazo, Anthony Mantha. Like, again, guys, could the wheels fall off this Pittsburgh Penguins train? Obviously, it's always possible that there's a 5 or 6 or 7 game losing streak coming for the Penguins. But so far, have they beat some? They were beating some weaker teams early on, but like Drew said, Minnesota's a pretty good team. Even despite Minnesota's record, they're still a good team. They beat
beginning to wonder about that, though.
Well, I mean, look, Minnesota. They should have beat the Jets the other night. I mean, anybody who watched that game, like, again, no disrespect to the Jets, but the Wild outplayed them, and they were lucky. I think a big part of that is obviously Connor Hellebuck stepped up big for the Jets, and they got some timely goals, obviously. But the Penguins have beat some good teams. Florida, I know they beat, I think, a week or two ago, right? So, like, again, Florida's record's not very good either. But, like, again, they're not just beating, Dave, like San Jose, and they're not just beating the Islanders, right? Like, they've beat some good teams. So what I'm saying is, give the Pens some credit here for their hot start. It's not all smoke and mirrors.
No, they are scoring a lot of goals. They're not giving up very many. The special teams are going well. So the Jets are going to have to bring, their A game, which I know is a meaningless cliche, but you're right. At the beginning of the year, you would have thought that this was going to be one of your softer opponents.
Right.
It was sort of the last, the month of October, which generally was a softer month opponent-wise for the Jets. You included this game in that category of soft opponents, and then, improving, then you go on the West Coast road trip for the next 6 games starting on Tuesday. But the Pittsburgh Penguins are playing very good hockey, so you certainly cannot take them lightly at all. And to the Jets' credit, I would say, because the Chicago Blackhawks, again, not a great team by any stretch, but they came in here on Thursday and they were playing some very good hockey themselves as of late.
They were like 5-1-1 heading into that game in their last 7.
They've been playing some very good hockey. The Jets did not take them for granted, did not take them lightly whatsoever. The Jets played one of their better games on Thursday. And of course, I think that Scott Arniel, we saw him on the post-game show, speaking from the Matt Frost Media Center. We bring that to you live at every home game here on the Illegal Curve post-game show. And we'll do it again this afternoon as well. Scott Arniel, the Jets head coach, he was a very pleased Winnipeg Jets head coach with that performance. He thought that, for this was a more well-rounded effort for the Jets, something he's been waiting to see, for the last number of games that the Jets had been victorious in, but not playing, what he would describe as Winnipeg Jets hockey, Dave.
Yeah, and he was asked about that yesterday, and one of the things he talked about, he went through Kelly asked him about kind of to reflect on the month that was. And one of the things he talked about was the idea that, listen, like, we've had a lot of guys that are new in the system, and of course, without Lowry, Sandberg, and Perfetti, that there's been an adjustment period. So for them to, he said, like, there's been games that he's been happy with the overall effort throughout the course of the 11 that they'd played to date. And he mentioned the Islanders game on Long Island or in Belmont, New York, I should say. I don't know if that's technically on Long Island or not, but I don't want to.
It is.
Yeah, but I just to be certain, just to be specific. But anyways, the point is that he did say that it's not like they're 8-3 and it's been smoke and mirrors, but he's essentially saying, like, there are warts to our game right now because we're not as consistent as we needed to be, but also acknowledging that without Adam Lowry, without Cole Perfetti, and without Dylan Sandberg, they've had to have guys step up. And so I think it's a blending of both. And the fact of the matter is, without those three, for the Jets to be sitting there at 8-3-0, you're not upset about that. Especially knowing that the return of Lowry is imminent. I was wrong. I asked Scott Arniel about it yesterday.
I wanted to see if you were going to fess up for being wrong.
I was wrong. I admitted it on social media. I said I thought my assessment was that Lowry would practice with the Jets yesterday.
Dave wanted that conditioning assignment.
He wanted it so badly.
He was manifesting.
He
was manifesting.
I wasn't. Guys, I don't.
He had his stat about this is the first time Adam Lowry's worn antlers.
First of all,
October of whatever year he was.
What's going on? What's going on with Drew's little pause there? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not. That was close to jazz hands.
Typing on his keyboard, pecking away.
First of all, if anybody I'm looking at like a rat with his cheese. It's Ezzy, not you, Drew. But the fact of the matter is that you got to remember. First of all, and it was 2015, if you want to be specific. December of 2015, the last time he played a game in antlers. But it's not a function of trying to manifest something. I don't try and put my own biases too much, at least, into these things. The fact of the matter is Scott Arniel himself is guilty of it, because he's the one who said, we have to talk to Lowry, we have to talk to management. The only reason you need to talk to those two people is if you were planning on doing a conditioning assignment. So and again, I suspect if he didn't have a good practice yesterday, in the sense that didn't come through it well, then they wanted him to get another practice in and a game first, then they would have done that. But I think he said, when I asked him the question, that the plan was that he had a good practice yesterday. Obviously, they don't have anything today. They're off tomorrow, and then they're going to practice on Monday. Even though I think the schedule says a practice tomorrow, but they're not going to practice tomorrow. They're going to take tomorrow off, and then they'll practice Monday. So Lowry, it sounds like, my guess, if I had to make one, we thought that he was aiming for this game, but he'll instead be aiming for the game on Tuesday against the Kings. The other player, though, Gustav Nyquist, who I also asked Scott Arniel about, he said day-to-day, but to be honest with you, I think he meant more in terms of our knowledge about what's going on there, because then he said he didn't have an update. He's not a player today. And he also said we should have an update tomorrow. And I went back and I watched the injury, boys, and nothing is readily apparent. And again, as I said, I was told that it happened right at the faceoff. And you watched Nyquist, Ezzy, he did a couple of twists, and then he was
he limped off, though.
Very ginger to come off the ice. And then, like
he left the ice isn't indicative of a player who's out day to day.
No, and so my assessment of what Scott Arniel told us yesterday was that it's more a function of they're going to get
a week to week, right, Dave?
Well, I don't want to I'm not going to give a timeline, but I just think that it did seem longer term than day to day. But again, he said he would give us another update today. Now, we obviously won't be in the post-game media availability. Maybe I can ask Colby to ask a question. But I think if I had to put some money on it, I would suspect that he might be out a little bit longer than we're expecting. But again, we don't really have any significant insight on that. Hopefully we'll get that today.
Well, Dave, I'll let you put your money on it. I'm not going to use my own money. So
that's good. You be frugal, Ezzy. That's a good decision on your part. You're absolutely right. I mean, we know that that Brad Lambert is going to step into the lineup. It seems like he's going to step in a fourth line role for the Winnipeg Jets.
I don't love that, by the way.
Well, but Ezzy, he hasn't done anything in a top six role to deserve being elevated over any of the other guys.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that he should be elevated. I'm just saying I don't know how well he fits in that type of role. That's all I'm saying. Parker Ford, Cole Koepke, and then Brad Lambert. Like we know what you want your fourth line to be, right? And I don't know. I just think Brad Lambert. I don't know how necessarily he's going to fit in there on the fourth line. But maybe when Danielle comes on, she'll disagree with that.
Well, let's bring her in, making her illegal curve debut. We welcome to the program TSN Winnipeg reporter Danielle Bain joins us on the show. Danielle, good morning. Love the Jays hat, repping the team. I mean, there's no right as long as you're not wearing like a hat of a team that Winnipeg fans can't get behind. Then I'd say you're okay. But welcome to the program. Welcome to the city of Winnipeg. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you guys so much. I'm trying to become a beloved Winnipegger, so I won't be wearing anything that, tests that patience. I know I come from Toronto, but don't hold that against me. I'm going full Winnipeg now, guys.
Okay, as long as you're cheering for the Bombers later on today, that's the important part. Obviously, Danielle, we welcome you to the program. You've been here now for a few weeks, sort of learning the market, learning the team, learning this Winnipeg Jets organization. Now that you're fully immersed, what have sort of been your initial reactions, I would say, to sort of covering this Winnipeg Jets team?
Okay, so because I worked in hockey before, I would try and keep up with all the Canadian teams. So I had a little bit of an idea, but coming here, I think the biggest takeaway has been just how intense they are in terms of their standards, I would say. It's funny, you look at the season they had last year, and then they just come into this season and they're immediately like, we don't care about that, and we're so focused on the now. And I know so many teams will say that, but I have noticed just like they're just not satisfied. And you even see the points that the first line is putting up right now, and they're like, yeah, we don't really care, just, as long as we're winning. And the 8-3 record, I'm like, you guys are doing amazing, but I kind of love the grind. And Jonathan Toews was even like laughing about it the other day, just saying like, I kind of love that.
Danielle, you mentioned you're going all Winnipeg. So has somebody got you a bucket of honey dill sauce yet?
Okay, so you guys will love this. On the home opener, no, it was the second game, actually. Second home game, the Jets on TSN crew had me on the broadcast to kind of introduce me to Winnipeg. And they gave me this kind of welcome package. And the items in the welcome package were so funny because lucky enough, I was able to try the honey dill 2 days before. And I don't know what I was expecting, because back home, if you're getting dill sauce with your wings or something like that, it's mostly like a ranch dill sauce, heavy on the dill.
Right.
And so when I was trying the honey dill for the first time, I thought it was going to be like way more dill, way more overpowering, but it was really just honey with a slight sense of dill. And I was quite into it. They gave me 2 bottles. I brought them home for Thanksgiving to Toronto and got the family on the honey dill as well. So I'm all in on that.
Nice. Yeah. Let's get people in Toronto and Ontario more into the honey dill sauce. Like here, like I put it on everything. I put it on my toast, everything like that. So it's definitely not, I'm just joking about that. But it's definitely,
you are joking, but it's not inconceivable that you are being honest. That's the part that's so
of the three of us, Danielle, I'm the guy that would try to put it on my toast. But
guys, I'm gullible.
But when it comes to chicken fingers and French fries and everything like that, it's definitely a staple here in Manitoba. But just talking about last game against Chicago, right? We were talking about it a little bit before you came on here. Like Scott O'Neill, that's exactly what he wanted, right? Like even despite the fact that entering that game, the Jets were 7-3. A few of the games prior to that were obviously, including the Utah game, where there was lots to be desired about the Jets play. So what did you see in that game in terms of the response to what Scott O'Neill wanted out of his club?
Well, I kind of liked that he had that frustrated energy, and, players kind of react to that really well. Even if you're winning, if you get that energy from the coach that he's not happy with the way you're playing in those second periods, you're really going to start thinking, okay, we can't let this second period issue fester. We don't want our coach mad at us after a win. You know what I mean? So I think the second period issue was completely fixed in that game. Obviously, that's just one game, so we'll see where it goes from there. But I would say the biggest thing that I saw that was kind of a little bit of adjustment and really heavy focus was the neutral zone play. And they were just really, really on top of things, especially on a team like Chicago, where they are really quick and really fast. I thought that they did a great job getting out of the zone, that neutral zone play, and then just really focusing in on that second period. You could tell that they were just treating it as they were coming out of the gates in the first. And I think I really noticed that for sure.
Danielle, like you said, you've been here now for a few weeks and you've been watching this team. Which players maybe have kind of jumped out at you and you've kind of been like, oh, I wasn't really anticipating that they played like this, and now they've kind of caught me by surprise, if you will?
I would say, that's a good question, Dave. I would say Vlad Nemestikov, because of the consistency. He's not out there every single game just, being a star, being showy. Yeah. But the stuff that he does and his ability to just go anywhere in the lineup, I think that's something that jumped out. Obviously, the top line, I knew that they were good. I knew that they were great, honestly, but watching them be in sync when you're in person is crazy. So I would say Vlad really popped out at me. I've really liked also the play of Tanner Pearson. I know he's more behind the scenes per se, instead of, star of the show. But I'd say those three things. Top line, obviously, they're just so electric. And then Nemesnikov being so consistent. And then Tanner Pearson just coming and doing what he does.
Danielle Bain is our guest on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Danielle is the new TSN Winnipeg Bureau reporter. We're talking about the Jets ahead of this afternoon's contest against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Gus Nyquist obviously left the game on Thursday, Danielle, with that injury. Day-to-day is the report, but it certainly didn't look good. Brad Lambert gets back into the lineup, but he's playing sort of in that lower role on that fourth line, a fourth line for the Winnipeg Jets that has been largely quite effective when they've been deployed by Scott Arniel. What do you think about that fourth line and the impact that a guy like Brad Lambert, who's not a physical player, he's more of a skilled player, and how that is going to fit? Because as he was referencing before you joined us, or maybe while you were backstage, it does on paper seem to be of an awkward fit. Lambert, high skill, two guys in Parker Ford that are more of the straight line grinding types of players.
There's a couple things here, Drew. So first off, with Cole Perfetti and Adam Lowry coming back quite soon, it's tough to know how much opportunity Lambert's going to get. And that's the hardest part, knowing that when you're in that position as a player, you really want to focus on those one game at a time situations and doing what you can do. But you also, in the back of your mind, may be thinking, I only have X amount of games to prove that I can do this. And Scott Arniel mentioned something the other day that really stuck with me. And it wasn't about a specific player. It was just about players that are maybe on the cusp that have less minutes. When they get those opportunities for more minutes, they actually think less about making mistakes. And they kind of, are playing more loose because they know they have more opportunity out there. I hope for Brad Lambert that he just goes in and has that loose player mindset so that he's able to just go out there, play simple. I know it's kind of cliche when the coaches are like, just want them to play simple, but it's true. When you're a young player, and especially all the work that I've done in the American League, coaches really want players that come in as skill guys to switch their mindset, because if you're a skill guy in the AHL, chances are you're a cusp player in the NHL unless you're getting developed, right? So I think it'll be interesting to see that fourth line, especially because, like you said, Brad is more of a skill guy, but I think this is his opportunity to really transition that role and start that process of kind of knowing where you're at in your play and in your career.
It's sort of funny you mentioned that, Danielle, because I was watching a clip yesterday, an interview with David Pasternak, because he's got a young player playing with him now in Marat Kustnadinov, which is a difficult name for me to do, but I think I did it justice there.
Easy for you to say, Drew. Yeah, good job.
Yeah, thank you. Pasternak was saying, along those same lines, he said to Kustnadinov, you don't change your game. Don't just do what got you to this point. We as the veterans, or me as a veteran player, I'll adjust to you rather than you having to adjust to me. Now, of course, Brad Lambert's not playing with real veteran guys. He's playing with Parker Ford and Cole Koepke, two younger guys as well. But it's an interesting mindset. I thought that was a real interesting comment from David Pasternak, and how that might be able to, at some point in time at least, apply to a younger player like a Brad Lambert.
Yeah, that is a really interesting mindset too, because you have two sides of the coin. You have coaches kind of saying, come in and learn your role on this team. Mm-hmm. And then you have Pasternak saying, don't change a thing. Yeah. But like you said, two different scenarios, but it is going to be interesting. Obviously, with Lowry coming back very soon, we'll see how long Brad Lambert stays in the lineup and things like that. But I mean, every game is an opportunity, and players say it best, you never know when a game is going to be your last. And I think young players sometimes don't really have that mindset because, they're so young, inexperienced in the league and things like that. But I think it's just more about knowing your role and doing exactly what the coach wants, to be honest.
Danielle, what stood out to you? I mean, obviously you're new to the city, you're new to covering the Jets, and there's another obviously marquee player who's new to the Jets, that obviously being Jonathan Toews. You mentioned obviously Tanner Pearson, Gus Nyquist, those guys are new to the Jets as well. But what's kind of stood out to you about Johnny Toews? Because I think you would agree, like most Jets fans would agree, he's looked better and better, and he's starting to get the points and everything like that. And we know he's really good on faceoffs. He's one of the best faceoff guys of all time. But just as someone new covering the team, and with Jonathan Toews and obviously his Stanley Cup resume and Olympic resume and everything like that coming to the team, what has kind of stood out to you just about that whole dynamic?
Okay, great question. So as someone who grew up watching Jonathan Toews and, watching his play on Team Canada and things like that as well, I was so interested to see kind of what he would bring off the ice to this team. And I talked to Logan Stanley yesterday and kind of asked about it. And he said, you know how people talk about Jonathan Toews having that aura? And I said, yeah. And he goes, it's real. And it's true. It's funny. It's because he comes in and he's just such a humble guy and just comes in and wants to be a regular guy, wants to get back into that NHL dressing room kind of vibe. And I just can't believe that he just comes in so cool, calm, collected. He knows that there's a lot of talk about him and coming back and the player that he's been and the resume that he's been able to put together. But to come in, and Logan Stanley said he came up to him and said, hey, Logan, I'm Jonathan. Great to meet you. And Logan goes, you're Jonathan? Great to meet me? No. I'm Logan. Great to meet you. So him coming in to the room, really also just coming in, respecting what they've built so far, and then just being one of the guys. I think that's the way that he should have come in to kind of really appeal to this group. And he just did it, obviously, because, he's one of the greatest to play the game. So it's not just, like you said, the face-offs, the getting better each day, the experience. It's kind of also the respect that he shows to the others that I actually think can really build confidence in other players.
Well, the Jets get a lot of confidence from this player, Danielle. What have been your impressions of Connor Hellebuyck so far?
My goodness.
That can be the entire answer. We're good if that's just the entire answer. You're fine at that point.
Danielle's speechless.
I just can't believe what this guy does, because the amount of shots, again, Scott Arniel's not going to be happy with the high volume of shots that they were giving up early on in the season and things like that. Obviously, it's just still early in the season. But then you have a guy like Connor Hellebuyck who's probably pumped that he's getting peppered with shots because he's like getting back into the groove of things. And even in that Dallas game, the home opener, when they lost, 5 goals against, this guy was still making unbelievable saves. Mm-hmm. And you're going up against a Dallas team that's incredible. So I just can't really believe what I'm seeing. It's cool to see it in person now. You see it on TV and things like that, and you hear all about how great he is. But he's also just so low-key. I can't explain it. It's like a goalie is so different. Every goalie is so different. Let me just tell you guys, I played goalie 1 year. No one knew how to raise the puck yet, though. So I would just kind of lie there with the tall girl energy. We did win the championship. Let me just put that out there.
No big deal.
But then after that year, my dad told me that I wasn't allowed to play goalie anymore because it's too stressful on him. So to see that goalie energy and just he walks around the room and just goes about his day, goes about his business. It's really cool to see that just flow state, not too high, not too low. And then just I can't really describe what I'm seeing.
It's a different vibe for sure from Connor Hellebuyck. Danielle Bain is our guest here on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show Saturday morning. It's brought to you by our friends at Play Now. Danielle, you look at this Jets team, you sort of talked about, you mentioned Hellebuyck, and he's even keel. And the dressing room itself is even keel in that they're never too high, never too low, because they know that this is all just the warm-up for playoff time. They know what the ultimate end goal and where their energy really needs to be harnessed towards. Being around a team like that, where they're just, I don't want to say they're going through the motions, but it's all building blocks towards a greater purpose at the end of the year. How does that sort of, that vibe sort of permeate everything from your perspective?
It's different than what I've seen in the past of other teams that I've covered, Drew, because many teams constantly are saying, we don't think too far ahead. Mm-hmm. We just think one game at a time. And I get that. It's a really long season. But this team has been open about the fact that they are obviously going one game at a time because that's what you have to do. But the games that they're playing early in the season, games in November, like they are really important to them because of the goal. And they don't shy away from kind of saying that and putting that out there and saying that these are things that we need to nail down now because we haven't had the success that we want. And I thought that was really interesting because I haven't really seen that before in the other teams that I covered, like I said. So I kind of think that they are even keeled. They are kind of not going through the motions, as you said, but they are really preparing for that. And again, you can't always say we're going to make the postseason. Players will never say that. Coaches will never say that. They'll say if we're fortunate enough to make the postseason. I mean, as long as this team kind of just keeps doing what they're doing, chances are they're obviously going to make the postseason. But Scott Arniel is quite open, and he's concrete about the fact that things right now really, really matter. And once that's kind of set by the leadership group and the guys that are, stars in that room, the new guys picked up on that right away. Mm-hmm. Like Tanner Pearson was saying that when he got here, he kind of noticed that right away. And it's something that you just want to embrace when you're new. When you're new, you want to come in and you want to do whatever the team's doing because they've had success in the past. So you just try and hop on that bandwagon of like, okay, everyone's really, really focused on certain small things right now because we know down the line this will come up. Well,
to that point, there's the saying that, best teams are player driven, okay teams are coach driven, bad teams have nobody driving them. So when you see sort of the Jets room, I think we all know that it's a very much a player driven team, but, sort of how did that sort of, when you walked into the room or you sort of became accustomed to the room more and more, how did you see that sort of playing itself out, especially even as a player driven room without their captain for the first month of the season?
Yeah, that's the craziest part without Adam Lowry. But that just shows how strong that the values and kind of the standards that they've all set together have kind of been. And one thing that I've just been doing research, I haven't actually gotten to spoke to Adam Lowry at all yet and kind of get to know him. And everyone says, he's a great captain and he'll be a really great person to kind of get to know. But when you have a captain that allows and encourages others on the team to really take that leadership role, that kind of changes everything in my perspective. Like, yes, Adam Lowry's the captain, but he has no problem taking a back seat to give others the opportunity to lead. That's kind of the sense that I'm getting. I don't know if that's kind of accurate from your guys' perspectives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
I think that that's been something that I've noticed and kind of learned from just talking to people. And then Scott Arniel the other day said, when he was frustrated about kind of that second period in the Utah game and just the way the Utah game ended in general, he goes, I didn't have to say much. They know. And when he said that, I was like, oh, it's one of those situations where, Scott is going to let them know things that he wants them to be better at, work on, but he doesn't have to go in there and give them a whole spiel. Like, they know, and they're very aware, and self-aware teams are probably the best teams, especially for a coach. Like, you want your players to be self-aware, and you want the players to come into the room and say something before you even have to think about it.
Absolutely. And we have a few more Jets questions, Danielle, and obviously we're going to get your Jays prediction for tonight. I'm going 8-3 Jays, obviously, with a Vladdy 3-run homer.
Wow.
Everybody knows the Jays are winning tonight, but a few more Jets questions. Gabe Vilardi.
By the way, Ezzy's notorious for terrible predictions. So just
look, Danielle, I thought the Jays were going to wrap it up last night, and Drew, I'll give Drew credit. Yamamoto is. I don't know enough about baseball, but he's got to be at the very least a top 5 pitcher in the league. Like, he's incredible.
He's an alien.
He shut down the Jays big time yesterday. And obviously the Jays left some runners on base and everything. But again, we'll wait till we'll finish off with the Jays, Danielle. But Gabe Vilardi, obviously, he's on a heater, 7 points in his last 3 games, huge 3-point game against the Chicago Blackhawks. It just seems like he's cooking right now. What has kind of been your assessment of Gabe Vilardi, who's obviously maybe a kind of that forgotten guy on the top line sometimes?
I was going to say, he's the Kevin Jonas of the Jonas Brothers when it comes to that top line. But you know what? Kevin Jonas does a lot for that band. Okay. So when
are you a big
down for us? Are
you
please?
A big Jonas Brothers fan? Because I don't know who these guys are.
Oh my gosh!
Dumb it down for us.
Come on, guys.
No, I've heard of the Jonas Brothers. I just don't know. I don't know like individually.
Okay, you know what? Let me
break it down. Break the Jonas Brothers down for us. Let me set
the scene. So growing up, the Jonas Brothers were huge. Kevin, Nick, and Joe. Nick and Joe were the most popular. Everyone loved Nick and Joe, and everyone would kind of, say, you know what? There's always Kevin on the outside. He's not one of the most loved Jonas Brothers, but they have done interviews. They have always said that Kevin was the backbone behind the scenes. Mm. And you know what? Gabe Vilardi, I actually like to say the line would not be what it is without him. from what I've seen so far.
No question.
Again, they've played together for much longer than I've covered this team, but seeing them just through the first 11 games alone, like, he is such a good decoy that he allows so much time and space to be created for these other guys. And he was killing me the other night because I was asking, when you're going down with Mark Scheifele, like, are you sensing anything about if he's going to pass or shoot? And he goes, no, I just always have to be ready. Like, I have to be ready at all times. And I thought that was funny because it's like, hey, this person has played with Mark Scheifele for years. And he is also there being like, I have no idea what this guy's doing at all times. So I have been really impressed with Gabe. And then Scott Arniel also saying that after he finally got that first one of the season, it seems like he's skating 10 miles an hour faster. It's so crazy what that first one of the season can do for you, and the confidence and just kind of getting over that. And some players, genuinely, it doesn't affect them because they know it'll come and they're just, they have a different mindset. But some players are like, no, I need to get that ASAP and then I'll get into the groove. So seeing him get into that groove has been pretty cool. But again, that top line, they just do wild things out there.
Well, Danielle, you mentioned in one of your previous answers, Logan Stanley. And I think the player that Scott Arniel was talking about that you mentioned when just about not thinking as much because you don't have as much time on the bench was Logan Stanley. And just that idea, and you had a chance to speak to him. So what is his mentality now that he's, again, had quite a few games playing in that second pairing role so far for the Jets?
He's really just grateful for the opportunity. He has said that, he's been a part of this organization for quite some time. And the older you get, he has a daughter as well. Like, you kind of just put things into things that you're way too focused on as a younger person. They kind of just they get pushed to the back of the brain. You know what I mean? So he's just happy for the opportunity. Obviously, Dylan Sandberg out of the lineup right now, things will change when he comes back in. But to kind of take the opportunity by the horns and just kind of go with it, I want to know what you guys think about his progression because, he's getting more minutes in this season. What are you seeing from him? Because I don't really know from previous seasons.
Well, sorry, Drew, you go. I mean, I'll quickly go, Danielle. Like Logan was obviously drafted the same year. Lion A was drafted in 2016, first round pick. They traded up to get him. He's played, what is he at? Probably 150, 200 games at this point. I think one thing that Logan struggled with last year a little bit was his confidence in turning the puck over. And he played, how many games did he play last year for the Jets? 50, 60, something like that. Like the majority of the games for the Jets. And I think this year, he's been a different player almost. Like this is the best I've ever seen him play. And obviously, he's not a second pairing defenseman when Dylan Sandberg's in the lineup, but I think he's done an admirable job playing up with Pionk. And obviously he's got chipped in some goals. And what does he have? 6 points now or 5 points? So I think it's been a long journey for him kind of in and out of the lineup. But yeah, I think certainly this year it's some of the best hockey he's ever played at the pro level for sure.
Two fights in there as well.
Exactly. Yeah. He can
That's
chuck the
gotta
knuckles.
come from confidence.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a player who's, as I think I said this on one of our post-game shows, he seems to be more comfortable in his skin and more comfortable in what he is as a player. He's not trying to, maybe live up to the pedigree of a first-round pick anymore. He's just now, for better or worse, and there's still always going to be warts in his game. Because, truthfully, he is a third-pairing defenseman, but he seems to at least be comfortable in sort of being the best possible third pairing defenseman he can be.
And one more for you guys. Are you surprised with how he's gotten that opportunity with Pionk? Because at the beginning, it was Fleury kind of getting up there and he had more opportunity last season. Mm-hmm. So what are you guys surprised about that?
Yeah, that injury that Hayden Fleury had where he missed that game, I think that was the game in Philadelphia, if I recall correctly, that he missed. Dave, you can fact check me on that one. They've been stable. Hayden Fleury is more, offensively inclined. Logan Stanley plays a much more simple
Have you seen those stand angles, Drew? I'm not so sure you're right on that one.
Stand angles, but the thought is that Hayden Fleury is a better puck mover and a better skater, and so maybe that doesn't necessarily mesh very well with the Neil Pionk, who can also, let's say, freelance a little bit too much sometimes. And so you need sort of that defensive conscious which is of course what Dylan Sandberg is. I mean, he's just a defensive stalwart. That's why he works so well with Pionk. Maybe Stanley is a small facsimile to what Dylan Sandberg typically does.
see.
Has
No,
anybody
that
ever
makes
called Logan Stanley small in any regard, Drew? I don't think you might be the first person.
Danielle, by the way, I've been doing some Googling here behind the scenes on the Jonas Brothers. And I have something interesting to mention, which comes back and relates to Drew here. Drew's lovely wife is from Kentucky. The Jonas Brothers are actually playing live tonight, Drew, in Lexington, Kentucky.
I might have time to still make it there. I'm not sure I will. But everyone knows that the boy band of Kentucky, though, is the Backstreet Boys, because they are actually from Kentucky. So
Now that's a throwback.
Well, I mean, not for us. That's we're a little bit older, I think, is what we're showing in this instance.
Oh.
But that's okay. We're young at heart is the important part.
Danielle, I'm going to listen to Jonas Brothers until the Jets game this afternoon. Like, it's going to be on my Spotify, all Jonas Brothers.
Give it a go. Best song, Burning Up, okay?
Okay, we will look into that, but give us the prediction. We know that we got a Jets game in about 4 hours, then we got the Bomber game in 3 hours, and we got the Jays game, sometime after that. The prediction, what happens tonight?
Well, first of all, just got to say that I don't know who scheduled what way back when, but how lucky are we that we get to embrace the Jets this afternoon and then go right into mentally preparing for this Game 7. I also thought that it was going to get done last night. Like, I was very, very confident about it getting done last night. But this team loves the drama. They love the drama. They wanted to push it to a Game 7 for us to see that heart rate go and the Apple Watch ask if we're working out. Okay, here's the prediction. Okay, boys?
Okay.
Jays win 6-4.
Okay.
Biggest hit of the night is coming from Ernie Clement.
I like it.
He's due. I feel like he hasn't bat as well as he typically does the last few games, so he's due. And best defensive play of the night, Vladdy.
There you go. Does your Savage pitch for the Jays tonight?
Well, I love last night that he said, "I'll be ready."
Well, it's his bullpen day. If they were on regular, it would be his bullpen day today. So
I
it's
do
not
think.
inconceivable.
Okay, wait. First of all, what do you think is coming from Mad Max tonight? I think it's the performance of a lifetime. Multiple people do not have trust in him. I'm trusting this guy with my life tonight.
Me too, Danielle.
He's a big game pitcher. There is no pitcher in baseball history after he starts tonight for the Jays. He will have the record for the most career starts in a deciding game of any pitcher in Major League Baseball history.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, I think this is his 9th start in a deciding game. So He certainly knows what it's all about. Now,
Danielle, I'm just going to throw out there, I think Bo's going to have a big hit too in this game. I'm going to throw that out there too.
You know what? When I saw him drawing in a couple games ago, I was like, you know what? This is either going to go one of two ways. But they just keep proving everyone wrong because everyone's like, he's not ready. He's not ready. This guy's just doing everything. Like, he is just – I love the decision of bringing him in. So I like that.
You're on the record, Danielle. She'll be waving her Blue Jays pom-poms high in the air, but it's time for her to fly away from the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. She used to be from Toronto, but now she is feeling alive in Winnipeg.
Especially with that multi-year extension, Drew.
That's right.
Oh, yes.
Extension. Those are all Jonas Brothers songs, by the way, in case you didn't pick up on that. All 4 of those are Jonas Brothers songs. Danielle, you've done it. You came. You conquered. We'll have you back again if you'll be willing to come back. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you guys so much. Thanks for letting me do my debut on here. You guys rock.
Take care,
Thanks,
Danielle.
Danielle.
See you later today. Have fun. Thanks. Danielle Bain, TSN Winnipeg reporter, joining us this morning here on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show.
You like that, Drew? Jonas Brothers in Kentucky tonight.
Thank you. I like that. I like that I was able to get that reference into the Jonas Brothers songs.
4 different songs. True. That was very impressive. That's why you're the host.
I was wondering, Drew was looking at the screen over there, and I was wondering, what was happening with this?
I can assure you, I had to Google top Jonas Brothers songs because I knew none of them.
Well, as he will, because I'll be on his Spotify within an hour.
Oh, yeah, I'm telling you, true. I'm gonna get my workout in before the Jets game, and by workout I mean sitting on the couch and watching other sports before the Jets game starts.
Very important, very important. Commercial free for hour number 1. We were here on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. That means means we have to pay some bills. Much more on the Jets, much more on the Jets and the Penguins. John Matisz at the bottom of hour number 2. Don't go anywhere. It's the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, Saturday morning. It's presented by Play Now. Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg, and I'm your host, Drew Mindell.
I want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling site instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now you might have questions like,
do our profits benefit your community?
No.
or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Centre. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime. Visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Centre.
Boys, I've made an important life decision, and I need your support.
Oh, boy.
I've decided to get a grill.
You mean a barbecue grill for cooking? Like, that's not an important life decision, Ezzy.
No. A grill for my teeth.
A grill for your teeth? Do I even want to know why you're doing this?
It's simple, really. Every time I go to Holt Dental, I get treated so very well by Dr. John and his team that I need to keep finding additional reasons to go back. I rely on Holt Dental for all of my dental needs, and they do it all, from regular cleanings to cosmetic dentistry. Plus, they have free parking at their front door, and you know how much I love my convenient parking.
For all your dental needs, Illegal Curve recommends Holt Dental, conveniently located on Taylor Avenue near Grant Park Mall. For more information, visit them online at holtdental.ca.
Guys, big news. You know how I'm always misplacing my cool stuff? Well, Big Daddy has a new hobby, labeling.
Labeling is your new hobby.
You got it. Ever since I discovered Label Daddy's washable labels, I just can't stop labeling. I'm labeling water bottles, hockey sticks, cereal boxes, roast chickens, team jerseys. Everything deserves a label.
I can think of a label or two for you.
Best part is that Label Daddy is the only label company officially licensed by the NHL. So my labels are personalized and can have the Jets logo on them. Just search NHL on the Label Daddy website.
For almost 2 decades, Label Daddy has been helping people to not lose their stuff. It's the most affordable insurance policy around.
For customized, washable, peel and stick labels with no ironing or sewing required, visit labeldaddy.com and search NHL for the label pack belonging to your favorite team.
For over 40 years, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has been Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy. Renowned in the comedy world as a must-play venue, Rumors has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers, wedding socials, and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase show tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
At Boston Pizza, a fast lunch doesn't have to mean fast food. Now you can get a $15 lunch served in just 20 minutes, including your choice of a main, side, and drink. That's right, lunch for $15 at your local Boston Pizza.
Hour number 2 of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show starts now. Drew Mindell, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg with you. The Jets in action this afternoon to face the Pittsburgh Penguins. The Bombers in action this afternoon, looking to continue their season as they do battle in Montreal. So much happening. It's a Saturday sports spectacular. And of course, we remind you to join us right around that 4:30, 4:45 mark this afternoon for the Illegal Curve post-game show. Yours truly. I think both of you two are going to be joining us as well. We're going to be talking about the Jets and the Penguins, breaking down everything that's going on in this afternoon's contest. Before we brought Danielle in, we were talking about Brad Lambert, who gets back into the Jets lineup as a result of the Gus Nyquist injury in a different role than what he was playing before, Ezzy. So continue your thought on that front. I understand your perspective completely that putting a skill guy at the bottom of the lineup probably isn't the most conducive way to get the best of his skill set and maximize it. But at the same time, when he was playing higher in the lineup earlier in the year in his opportunities, you really weren't seeing much production from him there either. So I'll let you sort of piggyback on that comment and move it forward.
Well, yeah, and we talked to Danielle about it, and obviously what's going to be asked of Brad Lambert in a fourth line role is much different than if he was even on the third line, right? And we should also mention too, if you want to kind of go through the lines, Dave posted them yesterday. He was at practice, but Tanner Pearson's going to move up to that third line with Morgan Barron and Nino Niederreiter, and then the top two lines stay the same. Taves still centers Iafallo and Nemesnikov, and then obviously we know the Scheifele line, right? So that's what's going to happen here. Brad Lambert's going to play with Parker Ford and with Cole Koepke. That's what we expect, right, Dave? I mean, things can always change, but that's what we're expecting. We're expecting Lambert to play on that fourth line. So he's going to be expected, obviously, to not only play less minutes, but he's going to be expected to just make sure that he's keeping his game simple and keeping the puck in the other team's zone, right? Like that's what you're expecting out of your fourth line. You're not expecting a ton of offense. If guys like Ford and Koepke and Lambert can chip in a goal this afternoon against the Penguins, that's great. But what you're expecting of him is to play a simple game. So that might mean, just keep chipping the puck in and, having a few cycle shifts where you keep the puck in the Penguin zone, stuff like that, right? I just, Brad Lambert, his development is stalled a little bit. I mean, let's be honest here, guys. Like Brad Lambert was a guy that, a couple seasons ago had a really good preseason, and we thought he might be playing in the NHL, right, Dave? And then obviously last year, he just didn't. You would agree, Dave. You documented it on Illegal Curve. Obviously didn't have a good offensive season, but the Moose didn't have a very good season either. So we're not going to put too much of the blame on Brad Lambert. But obviously, this is a big year for his development, and he's kind of been that kind of 13th forward type of guy for this Jets team, right? Like not playing regular minutes, and so it's an opportunity for him again. Not like Drew said, it's not an opportunity for him in a top six role where, he potentially he's going to get a goal or two, but it's an opportunity for him. Like, again, he might not be a guy that gets that top six opportunity with the Jets. And again, I'm not sure, his game kind of suited his style of game, isn't necessarily suited to playing with Parker Ford or Cole Koepke. But again, he's getting an opportunity to play games. So again, for him, this isn't a demotion. The fact that he's on the fourth line, this is on a team like the Jets that's deep. This is where he's got to play, right, Dave? So let's see how he does, kind of playing a different style along with Ford and Koepke, a more kind of mucking and grinding style.
Well, I was going to this reference, but it's the truth. I mean, when Nate Schmidt was asked, does he play on his opposite side? He said, "Of course I do," because he knew that with the Capitals, he wasn't going to get, with the depth they had on the left side. He's like, I guess I'll go to the right. Or he was Nate Schmidt was a left shot, right? And he played on the right side.
Yeah.
So with the Capitals,
Schmidt's a left shot.
Yeah. So the point is that he said,
now Drew's fact checking me on that.
No. I knew that was right. But anyways, the point is that that's what you do. You have to, if you want to be in the NHL, it's better to be a 12th forward than it is to be a 13th or to be down in the AHL. So you're going to do whatever you can to stay in the lineup. And
It's only played 2 games this year, right, Dave? So like again, with it's think of the injuries, right? Lowry and Perfetti have missed the whole year up to this date, and Lambert still only played 2 games. It's a Nyquist. The only reason he's getting into the lineup is because Nyquist is injured.
Right. And I think that, one thing that is a positive for Lambert is that he and Ford did play quite a bit last year with the Moose together. I think to start the season, they probably played like 15, 20 games together. So, there is a familiarity with those two. They're going to have that chemistry already sort of built in to their game. We always focus on duos and how that can kind of help. So that might be a bit of an assist, especially with someone like Koepke, who kind of brings that veteran presence to the line. So Yeah, I mean, we'll see what kind of time they get. And again, it becomes a function of special teams, right, guys? I mean, if this ends up being a heavy special teams game, then you're not going to play a lot of minutes. But you have to make the best of it, and you have to make the best of your time. And you're just trying to acquit yourself well, and that's what you can ask. All you can ask from Brad Lambert.
Sorry, go ahead, Dave.
Well, all I was going to say was that that the time is limited for him. And now, obviously, the Nyquist injury is going to potentially, we don't know how long it is. We'll hopefully find out today. But potentially that would stave off one of the guys being sent down. But ultimately, we know Adam Lowry is back, which means someone's going. And we also know that Cole Perfetti, I mean, again, watching him skate, watching him take shots, he's looking good. So he's not that far away either. Still in yellow non-contact. So not someone we're talking about as if he's imminent, unlike Lowry. But the fact of the matter is that those are going to necessitate two decisions. And I suspect, Ezzy, that the decisions are Lambert and Chibrikov to go down to the Moose and play top-line roles with the Manitoba Moose. And with this group, you're going to score goals and you're going to build your confidence, which is what I think is advantageous for them. I think that Scott Arniel said, I know folks are like, oh, they're not playing, they're not getting games. But the difference is they're practicing with the team and they're getting a lot of comfort with this team. And if the Jets need to recall them in January, February, March,
good point.
They're not just getting their feet wet and they're not going to be nervous around the team. They're going to be seen as guys who are part of the club. So if they go down to the Moose after Lowry and Perfetti get healthy and they go on a tear, as I would expect them to do because that team is going to be able to score, which again builds confidence for players like that. I think it'll have a big impact, and I think Scott Arniel's goal wasn't that they were going to make an impact in October, Ezzy and Drew. I think the plan, the hope was, if need be, they could have that impact in February and March.
And just wanted to mention one thing. Sorry, Drew. Just remember what you were going to say there. We had the comment up from 7JP7B about Koepke, and then obviously Spency's making his joke here about Cole Koepke climbing up the lineup here. But I really do think that Koepke. By the way, I wasn't saying that Koepke and Ford are bad players or they're just by calling them kind of like muckers and grinders. I'm just saying that's a different style of this line, right? Like I'll give Koepke a lot of credit. He's been really good on the PK, obviously, right? Still looking for his first goal as a Jet, but like I thought, for example, against the Wild, I remember he had a couple shots on net in that game. So I think it's just a matter of time. Obviously, that's pretty cliche, but I mean, he's going to get on the board eventually. I think, what did he have? 10 goals or something like that with the Bruins. So like the guy does have the ability to score here. All I was saying is that on the fourth line, like Dave said, especially with the special teams, I mean, you're expecting, even if there aren't a lot of power plays, you're expecting 10 to 12 minutes maybe out of that line, right? Like, so that's different to Dave's point about what the type of role Brad Lambert's going to play once he goes back down to the Moose, because I'm with Dave. Once Lowry and Perfetti come back, and Nyquist, obviously, Lambert's going to go down and play top line for the Moose. And that's not a bad thing. Like Dave always says, Brad Lambert's he's not a bust. He's 21 years old, guys. Let's not forget he's 21 years old. If he ends up spending the majority of the season with the Moose and he has a really good season and all that, that's just going to benefit him in the future. But he's just because he's struggled, I think, in his 2 games with the Jets, like he hasn't done much. I think we'd all agree in those 2 games. Wasn't that great in the preseason either, right, Dave? Mm-hmm. Let's just remind ourselves that he's still a top prospect in the Jets system. He's only 21.
Well, I think Dave made a couple good points. One, the familiarity between Parker Ford and Brad Lambert, I think, will assist Brad Lambert. I mean, Lambert was playing with guys when he was playing higher in the lineup. He was playing with guys that he really had never played with before. Maybe in preseason, maybe in training camp, they had a few shifts together, but it was sort of unfamiliar territory for him playing, towards the top of a NHL lineup and playing with players that he may not have that muscle memory with. Yeah. Now with Parker Ford, you have some more familiarity. Plus, you're playing easier, softer minutes. You should be, especially on home ice tonight. You're going to get the matchups, or Scott Arniel should be able to get his fourth line in matchups that are advantageous for them, that they should be able to get maybe some softer minutes against a softer opponent. We know how good Pittsburgh has been this year record-wise, but at the same time, I don't think anybody's looking at the bottom of their lineup and saying, oh, I don't know that the Jets can match up with that. I don't think that they can handle that sort of battle against the Penguins' fourth line or against the Penguins' third pairing defense or anything along those lines. So maybe that could help Brad Lambert in that he is getting against maybe a little bit not that high-end opponent competition that he's been getting when he's been playing in the top six, where he maybe has looked a little bit like a fish out of water. Maybe this will help him with Parker Ford, with Cole Koepke, both of whom play a very sort of simple style, and that can allow Lambert maybe to have a little bit more of freedom and creativity in his game that has sort of been, I think, absent in the couple of games that he's played. Being perfectly honest, though, I mean, there was opportunity here in the month of October and now into November. There was opportunity for Chibrikov, there was opportunity for Lambert, and there was opportunity for Ford, Parker Ford. And remember, he's only played 5 of the Jets' first 11 games, if I'm not mistaken. This will be his 5th game tonight, pardon me. He's only played 4 so far. Of those 3 players, I would say Parker Ford has sort of done the most with his opportunity in terms of keeping that job, earning that job, taking that job, to the next level, at least in the short term until the Jets are back to full health. Chibrikov had the first kick at the cat, ran into some penalty troubles. He's taken 4 minor penalties in the 5 games that he's played. That's a quick way to get out of the lineup. Brad Lambert has played.
Who are you, Drew George Peros over here?
Well, no, I'm not saying he's not getting supplemental discipline, but
I'm just joking.
You can't be putting your team shorthanded. I mean, you just can't.
No, especially for a young player who's trying to stick in the lineup. But right. I also think it ultimately comes down to, like Dave was, I think, alluding to, your point, Dave. Once Adam Lowry comes back, once Cole Perfetti comes back, who would you rather have as your 13th forward? I think you'd rather have Parker Ford as opposed to Brad Lambert or Nikita Chibrikov. That's why I think, Dave, we wouldn't be surprised if not just Lambert goes back to the Moose, but if Chibrikov goes back as well, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, definitely expecting both those guys to be sent down. And like I said, I don't think it's a bad thing. And I saw the comment to lose. Well, the Moose are on a heater. They've won 2 in a row, sweeping their set with Tucson, and Texas is not on a heater. Texas has been terrible, and that's who they're playing tomorrow and Monday. So there's a good chance that the Moose could be rolling right now. And we've got, again, a lot of young Jets prospects on the Moose having success. But this isn't Moose lunch right now. We're focused on the Jets and the Pens and the opportunity for Brad Lambert and Nikita Chibrikov. And so, yeah, I mean, like we said, it's always interesting to watch these guys and see if they can grasp it. And ultimately, whether you get that second line opportunity is I mean, that's the goal. But remember, I mean, everybody was just Brad Lambert, Nikolai Ehlers. Ehlers is fast, Lambert is fast. Even though Lambert prefers to play up the middle, he can play on the wing.
Also, Ehlers is 29, Lambert's 21.
Well, Ezzy, that's what I was trying to say to people. They're like, oh, well, it makes sense. I'm like, well, it does, but he's 8 years younger, right? It's not a function of saying that you're going to be able to, you can't replace 8 years of pro experience because you have similar attributes. So you have to focus on the fact that you want him to develop that and you want him to have that success. And again, I'm not doing this because I think, it's great for the Moose if they get Lambert and Chibrikov and they're going to have an even more potent offense. I think that, again, my opinion. I mean, whether I'm right or wrong.
He needs to marinate a little longer in the AHL. That's basically what it is.
Well, but also have a ton of success. And people can say, well, the Moose haven't been winning. Well, again, like I said, I didn't think their record was indicative of how they were playing necessarily. But ultimately, the bottom line is that he's a goal scorer. He's a producer. And I think if he's doing that at the AHL level, it's going to give him a ton of confidence. So I think this has all made a lot of sense. I think what Scott O'Neill has done to get him to be, and both of them, I should say, Chibrikov and Lambert, to feel like, and Ford, but Ford's older, obviously, he's 25, or he might be 26 now. 25, I think. I think he's turning 26. But
let's just say mid-20s, Dave.
Mid-20s.
So I have this question for you, though. I mean, talk
sure.
about needing the experience at the AHL level, and I get all that. He's played almost 140 games at the AHL level.
But I'm not. But Drew, last year was such a bad year for the team that it really just didn't do anything. And again, that's not a Brad Lambert specific criticism. That is the entirety of the Moose team was. I mean, they were the 31st scoring team in the AHL. They didn't produce. They didn't win. It wasn't a great year for development. So, with the exception of probably Elias Salamonson, who really came on after he suffered that injury. But the fact of the matter is, and I'm not saying that you only can develop through winning. That's not the case, of course. But the fact of the matter is that I just think that it wasn't a great development year because the things that bring him success, he wasn't doing. Again, him, but the team collectively. So I think this year it would be different because they've got the right mix of prospects with veterans, and you'll have that success. Again, if he stayed in the NHL, would I be terribly shocked? I would be surprised because I don't think it makes a lot of sense given the role and given what you want him to ultimately be. And that's the thing. So you get him.
I mean, I have time for your argument. I do. I understand that. But I'm not sure that I'm on board with you saying just because last year was such a disaster that it almost doesn't count. I know you're not saying that, but I'm paraphrasing.
Right.
I mean, he's got 125 games of.
Well, he also played pro. He also played pro in Finland. I know.
So
it's not a function of.
And he also started playing with the Moose at 19, right? So
he's played a lot of games.
He's very young still.
But if there's going to be that development to the NHL level,
but the problem, Drew, is again
time to start to see it.
No, but I mean, again, if you look at the difference,
you're not going to see it. Sorry, Dave. You're also not going to see it in 2 games or 3 games, including playing on the 4th line.
That's fine.
You got to play. You got to see him play longer. And sorry, Dave, to cut you off. I really
okay.
You were going to make a good point, much better than my crappy point. But Lambert is still
that to be the case.
When Lowry comes back, like Nyquist, obviously, if he's out any extended period of time, that might change things a little bit. But when Lowry comes back into the lineup, who the first guy that's going to be out of the lineup? It's going to be Brad Lambert. So he's got to do I'll agree with Drew. He's got to do he has to do the most he can to stand out today for Scott Arniel and the coaching staff. Like regardless if the Jets win or not today, this is a big game for Brad Lambert just to show he can do what's being asked of him in a 4th line role. So whether that's 8 minutes of ice time or 10 minutes of ice time or whatever, Lambert's got to make sure he makes the most out of every minute of ice time.
Well, I just had the comment up from Tyson because I think it was the point I was kind of getting towards, and I think it's absolutely correct. I think that you're looking at a young player who still needs to grow into himself and into his body. And so I think that takes time. So you can say, and some players are ahead of the curve in that regard, and some aren't, and some are needing that opportunity to develop. So I think Lambert's in that where he's getting stronger, and we talked about it with him over the summer. He's not quite there yet. And I think that that is one of those things that everybody has got a different sort of, it's not linear. It's not always going to be the exact same for absolutely everyone. And you've got a player who is going to take a little bit more time, I think, because of his structure. And again, some people don't need it. Kyle Connor needed 1 year in the AHL. Well, didn't really even start in the AHL, obviously, as everyone remembers. He started in the NHL, struggled, went to the AHL, struggled, then dominated for the final 21 games. Started the next year in the AHL, I should remind everyone, for the first 5 games, then got recalled. But the fact of the matter is, some guys don't need it. Patrick Laine didn't need time in the AHL. Nikolai Ehlers didn't need time in the AHL. So not everyone needs that development. Some folks do. Some become better for it. So I just think that it's not a function of anything. I think that the mindset of the coaching staff has been to get these guys ingrained within this team, within the framework of this team, to feel like they're a part of this team for this first month. And then the goal, I would imagine, is that you're healthy. You can allow them to develop and continue to produce, not even develop, if you want to remove that word, Drew, because you said he's played so many games, but just produce at the AHL level, have those guys back at the NHL level, the Perfettis, the Lowrys, and Nyquist ultimately. And then if you need them later on in the season, they're ready to go.
There you go, Dave M. It's a fair comment, I would suggest that you make. Time will tell, but Brad Lambert going to be in the Jets lineup, barring something unforeseen between now and puck drop in a little bit less than 4 hours from now. Tanner Pearson moving up into the 3rd line with Niederreiter and Morgan Barron in the absence of Gus Nyquist. No changes on the back end as far as we're expecting. The usual standard, Morrissey and DeMello, Stanley and Pionk, Hayden Fleury and Luke Shen, and the expected goaltender for the Winnipeg Jets in this afternoon's contest is Eric Comrie. No morning skate for either team, of course, given the 2 o'clock puck drop.
Speaking of goaltenders, when are we going to start talking about Sergei Musharov?
Dave?
I have no idea.
Murashov. Sergei Murashov. Named AHL Player of the Week recently. This is a guy, and this is a shout out to Josh Yeo, who covers the Penguins for The Athletic. Sergei Murashov, they think that this guy is going to be their future number 1 goaltender. And if you look at his numbers in the AHL, like 5-1, 930 goals, save percentage. His goals against average is like 1.6. Anyways, remember that name, Sergei Murashov. He was a 2022 4th round pick And definitely, I think they recalled him recently. I'm not mistaken. Dave's more of the AHL guy, but he was named AHL Player of the Week and definitely somebody to watch as the future goaltender for the Penguins.
Well, as
the Moose don't play against Scranton Wilkes-Barre, do they?
Wilkes-Barre Scranton they do not play against, so okay. I will not have any insight as to what's going on. This is the first time they played the Tucson Roadrunners in 9 years, so I had hard pressed to remember that from the 16-17 the last time they were there, but. I don't know much about other than when I see our boy Seth Rohrabaugh tweeting about something about Wilkes-Barre. I will notice it because I follow Seth, but I don't necessarily pay attention to what's going on that
Josh,
side of
like
the
I said, the reason why I became aware of him is because Josh Yeo, who covers the Pens for The Athletic, keeps writing about him, and obviously Tristan Jarry, and we talked about Artur Silovs. Those are the two goaltenders, but Murashov at 21, 22 years old. Is someone to keep an eye on because he's tearing up the AHL right now.
Well, also worth mentioning before we go to break, we're going to bring in John Matisz of The Score to talk about all that's going around the NHL. Should be a big crowd in attendance for Owen Pickering, who is expected to get into the lineup tonight for the
Pittsburgh St. Adolphe, Drew.
Yes, St. Adolphe, Manitoba's own Owen Pickering, former first-round pick of the Penguins back in 2022, a 21st overall pick.
You know what's amazing, Drew? You're never a former first-round pick. You're always a first-round pick.
That's true. A previous first-round pick. How about that?
It's always funny. It's always whenever anybody says former first-round pick, I'm like, you're always a first-round pick.
So, Dave, what you're saying is that I'm always the first overall pick in the Maccabi B Jewish Hockey League?
No, the league folded. I think that's when that happened. Then you become former at that point.
Hey, Dave knows. Dave knows. Garth Nemi took me number 1 overall. Denali, baby. We won the championship that year.
Yeah, in spite of that bad selection. Owen Pickering has played 2 games for the Penguins so far this year. It's expected he'll be in the lineup, but I'm sure he'll have a lot of people in attendance. He'll be, as the proverbial saying goes, he'll be playing for free today, given all the number of tickets he's probably had to buy for tonight's game, this afternoon's game against the Penguins.
Paired with Regina's own Matt Dumba.
I think Dumba's going to be out of the lineup, is what.
Really? That's what they had yesterday.
I thought it was going to be Brunicki is going to come back in the lineup for the Penguins, is what I read. But time will tell on that.
This is from Josh Getzoff, who's the play-by-play voice. He had in the practice yesterday in St. Paul, it was Pickering and Dumba as the third pairing.
Okay, well, we'll see. It's either going to be Pickering and Dumba or Pickering and Brunicki. In any event, it'll be the Jets and the Penguins this afternoon, and the Illegal Curve post-game show will follow the contest itself right around 4:40 p.m. Get back here on the YouTube channel. Make sure you're subscribed if you aren't already having done so to join us for the post-game show this afternoon. When we return, John Matisz joins us on the show. A look around the NHL. Parity galore in the NHL, as they say.
Just the way Gary likes it, Drew.
That's right. Gary Bettman, not Gary Lawless. But much more to come. It's the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. It's presented by Play Now this morning here on our YouTube channel.
I want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling site instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now you might have questions like,
Do our profits benefit your community?
No.
Or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Centre. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime. Visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Centre.
Boys, I've made an important life decision, and I need your support.
Oh, boy.
I've decided to get a grill.
You mean a barbecue grill for cooking? Like, that's not an important life decision, Ezzy.
No. A grill for my teeth.
A grill for your teeth? Do I even want to know why you're doing this?
It's simple, really. Every time I go to Holt Dental, I get treated so very well by Dr. John and his team that I need to keep finding additional reasons to go back. I rely on Holt Dental for all of my dental needs, and they do it all, from regular cleanings to cosmetic dentistry. Plus, they have free parking at their front door, and you know how much I love my convenient parking.
For all your dental needs, Illegal Curve recommends Holt Dental, conveniently located on Taylor Avenue near Grant Park Mall. For more information, visit them online at holtdental.ca.
Guys, big news. You know how I'm always misplacing my cool stuff? Well, Big Daddy has a new hobby, labeling.
Labeling is your new hobby.
You got it. Ever since I discovered Label Daddy's washable labels, I just can't stop labeling. I'm labeling water bottles, hockey sticks, cereal boxes, roast chickens, team jerseys. Everything deserves a label.
I can think of a label or two for you.
Best part is that Label Daddy is the only label company officially licensed by the NHL. So my labels are personalized and can have the Jets logo on them. Just search NHL on the Label Daddy website.
For almost 2 decades, Label Daddy has been helping people to not lose their stuff. It's the most affordable insurance policy around.
For customized, washable, peel and stick labels with no ironing or sewing required, visit labeldaddy.com and search NHL for the label pack belonging to your favorite team.
For over 40 years, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has been Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy. Renowned in the comedy world as a must-play venue, Rumors has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers, wedding socials, and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase show tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
At Boston Pizza, a fast lunch doesn't have to mean fast food. Now you can get a $15 lunch served in just 20 minutes, including your choice of a main, side, and drink. That's right, lunch for $15 at your local Boston Pizza.
Bottom of the hour. Welcome back to the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg, Saturday morning. Jets and the Penguins a little bit later this afternoon. Bombers and the Als, Jays and the Dodgers. John Matisz from The Score. It just naturally flows together. He's the senior hockey writer from The Score. He's a good
John's the Vladimir Guerrero Jr. of Illegal Curve guests.
Wow. Okay. I like it. Good postseason. Big money. I don't know if my bank account's as fat as Mr. Guerrero's, but I like that. And that, Drew, that was a fantastic intro in terms of just throwing me in there with all these very exciting November 1st things.
I mean, in the power rankings of excitement for today, John, you have rocketed to the top of the ranking billboard the imaginary ranking billboard that we have. Just don't get picked off second base on a shallow fly ball to left. You'll be fine. That was a little bit that was a disappointing end to last night's contest. We'll see if there's any hangover regarding that a little bit later on tonight. But John, we're going to focus on hockey. We're going to keep our focus on hockey. It's probably good. We'll start with the Leafs. It's probably good that the Jays are doing so well, because otherwise the sky would be falling in Toronto, given where the Toronto Maple Leafs are in terms of the NHL standings. Oh, look, lo and behold, albeit in a 4-way tie for last in the Eastern Conference, but the Maple Leafs 5-5-1 to start. I guess they're flying under the radar because the Jays are gathering up so much oxygen. But what's happening with the Toronto Maple Leafs that are attributable to their struggles to start?
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head in terms of them flying under the radar. Like locally, there's been very little talk about their disappointing start. Aside from the diehards and obviously the beat writers and whatnot have to be in there and trying to figure things out. But I guess good timing from that respect. But and honestly, good timing in terms of if you're going to struggle, I suppose the start of the season is the time to struggle, because the talent level is still playoff quality. I think that Craig Berube is a pretty good coach, so I think that they will figure it out to some extent. It's just a matter of, okay, what is the A game for this team? Because ever since Brad Living and Craig Berube came on board, they've been trying to move this team in a certain direction, right? Grittier, bigger, sort of more forechecking, just sort of bringing it into, I suppose you could call it, a strictly playoff hockey style. And so they've accomplished that to some extent, especially from a roster building perspective. I mean, they're really missing Mitch Marner in terms of the dynamic quality of their forward group. And the problem, though, with going so far in one direction, because obviously, you know, back in the day, let's say 5 years ago, they were so far in the skilled direction under Dubas. You know, they'd have this bottom six that didn't really do much, whether it was defensively or offensively. So they've moved in the other direction, but maybe too far. I mean, I look at that blue line and I see not enough puck movers. I see a lot of big bodies. I see guys who can play shutdown roles, but beyond Morgan Riley and maybe like Oliver Ekman-Larsson sometimes, there's a real lack of getting the puck to the forwards and moving the transition game forward. And I don't – it's all sort of awkward or just like weird to analyze, because I actually like what Tree Living did in the summer in terms of like, okay, if Marner has to go and he's going to Vegas, oh, you got Nick Wall in that trade. Usually teams get fourth-round picks when they do a sign-and-trade with another team. Okay, that's a good player to bring back. It's not Mitch Marner, but that's a start. Okay, Matias Maccelli, you pick him up. He's got playmaking chops kind of like Marner. Okay, so he fills a part of that role. Dakota Joshua coming over from Vancouver via free agency. Okay, like you know what I mean? I feel like they were pretty good bets, especially when you couple them with, you know, the Tavares contract was really team-friendly. The Anthony Stolarz extension, very team-friendly. So it's a little strange from the sense of you come into the season going, okay, we don't quite know what this team's going to be on the ice, what their ceiling is. But like I thought, okay, Tree Living did a pretty good job. But it's kind of blown up in their face as far as this team had really lacking juice offensively. And, you know, the elephant in the room, of course, is that Austin Matthews doesn't look like anything close to the 69 goal scorer that he was 2-3 years ago. And I mean, that was the biggest variable coming into the season, and it's the biggest variable now in terms of, okay, you lose Marner. Now it's basically Matthews and Nylander's team. We all know what Nylander is in terms of, you know, the production, but then, you know, the off nights, that's just what you get with Nylander. But Matthews is supposed to be a top 5 player in the league. He's certainly paid to be one, and he flat out isn't right now. And it's one thing if you're scoring a bunch of goals and, you know, you're not great defensively. It's another thing if you're, you know, Patrice Bergeron and you get 50 points. But I feel like right now Matthews is neither of those things, and that's just not good enough.
John, you mentioned Kyle Dubas in your answer, and that leads nicely into the question I want to ask you about the Pittsburgh Penguins, because the Jets play the Penguins, of course, this afternoon at 2 o'clock Central Time. Obviously, that will be, if my math is 3 o'clock Eastern Time, John, right? So I did pretty well there, right? It's just 1 hour. It's the Pacific time zone that gets me when I have to add 2 hours behind. That's when it gets complicated
math is hard.
For me.
Don't ask him about Newfoundland. His head explodes.
Oh, yeah, that extra half an hour. I just went, what do I do? Where do I add that? What do I do? But Pittsburgh Penguins, what do you make of their start? Because obviously we all predicted them at this point in the season being in first place, right? Yourself included, Drew, Dave. We all predicted this, right? But I mean, this Penguins team, I mentioned this during the first hour. To me, like, this start is great. If they make the playoffs, great. What's kind of been standing out to me about this is just like, we're going to start to have to talk more and more and cherish and appreciate more just like these two players, Malkin and Crosby, both first ballot Hall of Famers. Could be Malkin's last year in the NHL. It's one of Crosby's last years in the NHL, but these guys are still over a point per game at 38 years old, like 38, 39 years old, like just incredible. But what do you make of the Pens, and do you think it's realistic for them to be a playoff team this year?
Yeah, I hate to pour cold water on such a good story. You know, I believe they're either leading the league in points right now or right close to it.
Yeah,
and
tied with Colorado, John.
But they have the tiebreaker.
Right, there you go. So the President's Trophy frontrunners right now.
Put the banner up.
Honestly, it was way more likely, in my opinion, for them to be at the bottom of the standings at this point in the season versus the top. You know, those two extremes. So it's phenomenal what they're doing, and there is some substance to it. But let me list a few of the sort of things that I don't think are very sustainable. So, you know, Evgeny Malkin, he's 39 years old. He gets off to hot starts all the time. Like, this is kind of his thing. So I don't expect that to continue. I mean, it would be kind of crazy if he put up like 100 and something points. So, I mean, does he end up with 80 and that's a fantastic season? Sure, I could see that happening, but I just feel like how he's carrying the team in a lot of ways is pretty unsustainable given his age and what we've seen from him in the last 3 or 4 years. Justin Brazeau and Anthony Mantha putting up big numbers to start. You know, maybe these are sort of reclamation projects that are going in the right direction right now for the Penguins. but I do not see them continuing at the pace that they're at, similar to Malkin. And you look at the team in general. I mean, they have the highest PDO in the league. Not every, PDO isn't perfect, but, if you have the highest shooting percentage and highest save percentage combined, those numbers are going to come down. Like, you can't, it's just kind of like, we've seen so much over the years of teams be on these crazy hot streaks that, like, they just don't last over 82 games. It's plain and simple. The fact that Tristan Jarry looks pretty good, I mean, that's a huge plus in terms of, this team moving forward, whether they make the playoffs this year or not. But I just see a team that it's kind of ironic. It's like a team that, if you're Dubas, like in the back of your head coming into the season, you're going, I hope we get off to not a great start, and then I can start unloading all my veterans. And it's not like this awkward, like, weird dance that I'm doing with this core that's been around forever. It's just we get down to business and guys get out of here. But now he's dealing with another situation where, do I ever pull the plug if they're near the playoffs cut line around the deadline? Like, it seems kind of crazy to do any sort of rebuilding tactics around then. You try to get Sid into the playoffs one last time as a Penguin, right? So, I mean, it's super interesting. I just don't think it's very sustainable. And, look at sort of quality of competition that hasn't been super high on their sort of their schedule so far. All those things play into these hot starts. But they've given themselves a nice head start if they do, in fact, want to get to whatever 95 points, that playoff cut line. Like, I'm not going to take that away from them in terms of those are real hard-earned points. And just to circle back on sort of like expectations coming in the season where everyone thought that they were going to be a bottom feeder. Who's a seller right now? I know it's early in the season.
Yeah, exactly. You tell me, John. I have
Calgary,
no idea.
like Calgary, but also like, why aren't they out there wheeling and dealing already? They've got Rasmus Anderson, who has been on the block, presumably, at least in the trade, rumor mill, we can say, for months. Why hasn't he left? Nazem Kadri, I know there's something about, he wants to play his 1000th game in Calgary. Okay, I get that. But like, how deep do they cut? And that's just one team. That's just one team. And
John, I was just going to mention, sorry to sort of cut in.
No,
here,
no worries.
The other thing with Kadri is I think he'll be highly sought after, but correct me if I'm wrong, but he's got, I think, 2 years left on his contract at what, $7 million?
Yeah, it's not
so that's another thing. Like, is a team that's going to acquire Kadri, are they going to ask for salary retention?
Right.
Like, I realize the salary cap's going up, but like, he's not a young guy. He's 35 years old. He's got 2 years left. 3 years left after this year, right, Dave? Drew?
Yeah, 3 years after this year.
That's all I'm saying, John. Like, I think Kadri's a guy that teams will call
I think $7 million is a minimum salary in the new with the new salary cap era, anyways.
Well, Shohei Ohtani makes that every 5 minutes. So,
no, but you're right. And like, okay, let's just say Calgary does sell off a couple guys. Other than that, you go, okay, Seattle seemed like a team that maybe could sell. They have a bunch of interesting pending UFAs. They're off to a pretty hot start. Anaheim, Chicago, San Jose. Not only do they have very few players that are desirable that are like pending UFAs at this point because they've consistently sold off, but they're on the rise. Like, are they going to add at the deadline? Probably not. But are they going to sell? Probably not to any great degree. So you start going around the league and you're like, I know it's November, but like, okay, who are the sellers? And I feel like it's a bit unique this year where at most years by November, there's some sort of feel for, okay, at least these 3 or 4 teams. Right now, I feel like it's Calgary, and that's it.
Well, sorry for Dave. I know you have the next question, but from a Canadian market perspective, if you're the Calgary Flames and you're their organization, look, right now they're struggling. But selling, if you sell, how much benefit are you going to see from that fire sale? I mean, you're talking about you still got to sell tickets. They're building a new arena. You want to get excited for when that new arena opens. If you start selling, a lot of your veteran players, where does that leave you as a franchise moving forward? That's
with Gavin McKenna, Drew.
I was going to say, gives you a better shot at Gavin McKenna.
I mean, yeah, fine, fair, but I mean, there's no guarantees there as well. I mean, look, the Buffalo Sabres, are the cautionary tale about what happens when you tank. And they've been in the doldrums. They've been the worst franchise in, I would argue, professional sports ever since then. Them and the New York Jets. I mean, you have to be cautious. Yeah. There is a cautionary tale about selling too much.
Yeah, I would say with Calgary, I mean, they've already gotten rid of a bunch of guys. And the problem with them right now is that if they continue on the path that they're on, like not tanking or not fully going downhill, they're going to end up being a mid team for the next decade plus. Like, maybe Zane Parekh is sort of a superstar, but he's going to be a flawed superstar. Like, he's kind of the only one where you go, oh, I see this guy carrying a team to some extent. Otherwise, they have some good prospects, some good young players, but there's no Gavin McKenna, there's no Celebrini, there's no Bedard, no one of that caliber. So how do you get those guys? It's the draft. And I get the context of like the new arena coming up and everything, but I don't know. I think it's actually easier to tank in Canada than anywhere else because you have such a big base, and they're an educated base where you go, listen, guys, this isn't ideal. And obviously Craig Conroy is a great spokesperson in terms of like he's a beloved figure in the city. You just have to communicate it well where it's like it's kind of like what they've done in Detroit. I know that things have kind of gone, sideways or have dragged on in the Yzerplan era, but like that's an original six team. They haven't lost fans because of it. It's taken forever, yes, but like their ceiling is getting higher and higher as things move along here because they've picked so high in the draft, because they've developed well and just taken their time. So I feel like Calgary's in danger of being, say a Minnesota Wild or a St. Louis Blues for a long time if they don't really sort of, and going down to the bone is tough because there is the Buffalo Sabres of the world that really make you go, is that a great idea? But I think they need to do a little bit more than they've done just to get those better draft odds. And even if they don't get McKenna, like there's other players in the upcoming draft if they pick top 5 that are going to be super valuable to what they're doing.
Well, John, we touched on my question a little bit because I was going to ask you about your article for The Score that you just wrote about the 8 early trends. Well, we know the first one you wrote about was no sellers, no trades. So that's one's off the board. But of the other 7 that you wrote about, what's kind of the one that stands out as kind of the most interesting early in the NHL season?
I guess I'll throw 2 at you. So like big picture, the 2026 UFA class is just falling off a cliff in terms of the star power. I mean, it's one of those things where like, you see it happening in real time where guys are going off the board and you just go, oh, there's like no one left. But then when you actually sit down and look at it, it's like, okay, McDavid's gone, Kaprizov's gone, Eichel's gone, Connor's gone, Nyquist is gone. It was this fantastic class. And like, I think the league could have really benefited from all the buzz around it. Now you've got Tuck and Panarin and a couple of other guys, but like Kempe, but it's gotten like real dire. And I just think that part of this is sort of the new CBA and players looking at the potential to still get 8 years, still get a front-loaded contract, still get a heavy bonus structure, and are just choosing to re-sign. And obviously this all coincides with the cap going up as well, where teams can actually afford to re-sign these players that usually they have to figure out a way to get rid of them. So that jumps to mind. And then another one would be the NHL released a stat the other day where it was, I believe, 78.5% of games so far have been decided by 1 goal or by 2+ goals, but it includes at least 1 empty netter. So that's how they sort of, I guess, capture what a close game is. And that's the highest in NHL history. So pretty interesting. And I think it's reflective in the standings. Like, like we talked about with Pittsburgh, like the fact that they've climbed up there, or even the Canadians, they've climbed up so high. Like they've won a lot of the Canadians have won a lot of 1-goal games, a bunch in overtime. And, the NHL loves to talk about parity. And some of it is artificial, if we're being honest. Like
is the parity good though, John? Sorry for interrupting.
No worries.
But is it good? I mean, you look at the East. It's the East more than the West right now. But I think from first overall in the East, atop the Eastern Conference, to the last place team in the East, the separation is 7 points.
Wow.
Is that good?
Crazy.
Is that good for the game? I mean, it's good for keeping fan bases interested and artificially maybe increasing their playoff projections. But is it truly good for the game?
I don't know. Like, I don't know if it's good or bad. Like, I don't know how to really process that in terms of like, I mean, I think like me as someone who doesn't cheer for a team, covers the league, tries to remain objective. I mean, I like that a lot of teams are still sort of in the hunt so far as playoff races and just like night to night intensity. There's no one mailing it in. And I mean, there usually isn't on November 1st, but you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think that's a positive. I mean, there's sort of an angle here where it's like it's bad in terms of like we talked about no sellers. Like there's a bit of a weird thing happening in the NHL where trades could really dry up this year in terms of putting aside, or not putting aside, but let's talk about the various layers. So, like I said, that UFA class kind of sucks now. Okay, that's fewer rentals. What else do we have going on? Oh, it's you can't do double retention of salary anymore, at least within like the 75-day window. So all those complicated trades where you've got a third party kind of taking on some salary, that can't happen anymore in the new CBA. And obviously the playoff salary cap, that's going to stop at least a big trade or two that we would have seen in the past, where Star goes down on a contender, that team is still able to acquire a big player in a trade. And I know there's a whole controversy over that whole topic in general, but you add all these layers together and it's like, are we going to see any trades around the trade deadline? Like, is this going to be a weird season? Already there's been very few trades since mid-July, like literally 2 that involve NHLers, and it's Lucas Reichel and Curtis McDermott. Like, those barely even count as NHL trades.
You're saying, John, that's not a blockbuster.
I'm saying we haven't seen a blockbuster, and I think the ones in mid-July weren't massive either, right? So you might have to go back to when Zegras was traded or something like that to really find something juicy. So, I think it's bad for, like, so to circle back, Drew, like, I think that component of it, the lack of trades relating to the parity, is a negative in terms of, like, let's face it, like, fans love trade rumors, fans love trade buzz. Even when trades are coming down and you're getting little pieces of information, you're like, oh my God, this is happening. Oh, this team won the trade, this team lost the trade, and then the trade actually comes down, you can fully analyze it. That whole process is part of fandom. It's part of what makes the NHL interesting. So, who knows what happens over the next few months? Like, March is a long time away, but it sure seems like we're lined up for a underwhelming trade season.
John, I wanted to ask you about the Martin Necas contract, because that just happened. I forget if that was Thursday or Wednesday. It happened 2 or 3 days ago. Martin Necas signed that contract with the Avalanche. What was it? It was an 8-year deal. I don't know the
it was
exact.
$500,000 less than
Mikko.
Got. Yeah, then Rantanen.
I don't know. It was. I just checked. It was $92 million, $11.5 million AAV, and obviously Necas is a good player, right? He had a career year last year, and he's been really good for the. I watched part of that Avalanche Golden Knights game last night. The Avalanche obviously won. We already mentioned earlier, Avalanche are tied with Pittsburgh, first place in the NHL, but it still stood out to me like that's. Like, I guess, should I be surprised, John, but with that number, or after Kirill Kaprizov signed for $17 million AAV, should we not be surprised? I mean, that, like, it just seems like Necas, he's really only had 2-3 really good years, and he's now one of the highest paid guys in the league.
I thought the deal was fine. Like, I think I've moved on from sort of the sticker shock part of the cap rising, where, let's just say those defenseman contracts with like Jackson Lacombe and Lane Hudson and
Luke Hughes.
Yep. Like, some of those, like, not that I thought they were bad deals, but it's like, that's a lot of money for a guy who hasn't played a ton. It sort of takes you a while to wrap your head around, okay, this kind of makes sense once you look into, the cap rising and percentage of the cap. I found the Logan Cooley deal, 10 million times 8, the first deal where I was like, 10 million seems like a lot of money, but it's really not for this quality of player, number one center. Again, rising cap, 10 million is just not what it used to be. I think Necas at 11.5 is totally fine. I mean, the interesting part, of course, is that they got rid of Rantanen because they couldn't come to terms on a deal that would have been in the neighborhood of 12. Would I rather have Rantanen over Necas? Yes, absolutely. But Necas is younger. He really fits nicely in Colorado's system, like this crazy fast rush team. And he's found a ton of chemistry with Nathan McKinnon. And he's kind of a unique player in terms of like his skating ability and his stick handling and like finding quiet ice and all that kind of stuff. Like, I think, I don't think he's like a top tier star in the league, but I think he's, maybe a top 50 player in the league. I don't know exactly where I'd put him in the grand scheme of things, but like, he's a really, he's a high end player.
Absolutely.
So I think it's fine. And I think that the interesting part though is like kind of like, they get rid of Rantanen because of this contract dispute. He shows them up in the playoffs in terms of just dominating them. And then it's like they've got their tail between the legs signing Necas. I'm kind of saying that just, tongue in cheek, but like, it's kind of awkward where it's like, yeah, our McKinnon, Makar, Rantanen is now McKinnon, Makar, Necas for $500,000 less. And one guy's younger, whatever. The contracts don't start on the same year, so it's not quite apples to apples, but there's sort of kind of an awkward situation there in Colorado.
John Matisz, senior NHL writer for The Score, good friend of the show, good friend of ours. John, appreciate it. What happens in Game 7 tonight?
Oh, come on, guys. It's over. It's Jays. I think that, Scherzer's going to have an absolutely dominant performance. Let's throw some numbers out there. Let's say Jays 4-2. Okay, and the streets in every town across Canada get filled with people, and everyone. I hope Winnipeg goes wild here. Like, obviously, I feel the buzz in the Toronto area.
Lots of Jays fans here,
okay,
John.
good.
Let me tell you.
Okay,
Drew
good.
and Dave will back this up.
I think there might be polite applause. I don't think the streets are going to get filled, but there might be some polite applause.
I don't know about that. People are excited about it here in Winnipeg. John, the real question is, will Ernie Clement pass Pat Borders for the all-time hits record? Consecutive games, I should say.
I mean, if he does what he did last night in the ninth inning, it's 0 outs, 2 guys in scoring position. He hits the first pitch, and it's a ball.
I was shocked he swung at the first one. I was shocked he swung at the first pitch.
But he's been such a warrior, such like an unsung hero that, obviously I have a ton of confidence in him, sort of rebounding. And that, this team is so likable that even if they lose, it's like, thanks for the memories kind of stuff. It's kind of wild what this season's been.
It's crazy to think that it's been 32 years since the early 90s and those championships, but this has been a good run regardless of outcome.
Yes,
it'll be a spectacular sports Saturday. The Jets and the Penguins. You got CFL playoffs, and then the coup de grace. You got Game 7 between the Jays and the Dodgers. John, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Real soon again.
Thanks, John.
Cheers. Have a good one.
Goodbye. Yeah. There goes John Matisz, good friend of the show. We take our final commercial break. We come back and wrap on this Saturday morning. Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg, the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, presented by Play Now. Don't go anywhere.
I want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling site instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now, you might have questions like,
Do our profits benefit your community?
No.
Or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Centre. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime. Visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Centre.
Boys, I've made an important life decision, and I need your support.
Oh, boy.
I've decided to get a grill.
You mean a barbecue grill for cooking? That's not an important life decision, Ezzy.
No. A grill for my teeth.
A grill for your teeth? Do I even want to know why you're doing this?
It's simple, really. Every time I go to Holt Dental, I get treated so very well by Dr. John and his team that I need to keep finding additional reasons to go back. I rely on Holt Dental for all of my dental needs, and they do it all, from regular cleanings to cosmetic dentistry. Plus, they have free parking at their front door. And you know how much I love my convenient parking.
For all your dental needs, Illegal Curve recommends Holt Dental, conveniently located on Taylor Avenue near Grant Park Mall. For more information, visit them online at holtdental.ca.
Guys, big news. You know how I'm always misplacing my cool stuff? Well, Big Daddy has a new hobby, labeling.
Labeling is your new hobby.
You got it. Ever since I discovered Label Daddy's washable labels, I just can't stop labeling. I'm labeling water bottles, hockey sticks, cereal boxes, roast chickens, team jerseys. Everything deserves a label.
I can think of a label or two for you.
Best part is that Label Daddy is the only label company officially licensed by the NHL. So my labels are personalized and can have the Jets logo on them. Just search NHL on the Label Daddy website.
For almost 2 decades, Label Daddy has been helping people to not lose their stuff. It's the most affordable insurance policy around.
For customized, washable, peel and stick labels with no ironing or sewing required, visit labeldaddy.com and search NHL for the label pack belonging to your favorite team.
For over 40 years, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has been Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy. Renowned in the comedy world as a must-play venue, Rumors has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers, wedding socials, and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase show tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
At Boston Pizza, a fast lunch doesn't have to mean fast food. Now you can get a $15 lunch served in just 20 minutes, including your choice of a main, side, and drink. That's right, lunch for $15 at your local Boston Pizza.
It's 11 o'clock, which means we're overtime here on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. That's okay. Big thank you to Danielle Bain and John Matisz for joining us on the show. I should also mention that there's another Manitoba product in the lineup for the Penguins tonight. I mentioned Owen Pickering. Connor Dewar is, of course, from the Paw. He's also going to be playing for the Penguins. So a little bit of Manitoba.
Shout out to Northern Manitoba.
Yes, exactly right. So Connor Dewar will be in the Penguins lineup as well. The Jets and the Penguins, it's going to be 2 o'clock puck drop. It's going to be a 4:40 p.m. post game for the three of us. We'll have live coverage, of course, from the Matt Frost Media Center. All the angles will be discussed on the Illegal Curve post-game show when we get back together in about 5.5 hours time, give or take a couple of minutes. Go ahead, Ezzy, quickly.
Well, no, I was just going to say, and I'll be able to talk about all the Jonas. I'm going to be listening to Jonas Brothers for the next 3 hours before the Jets-Penguins game, so I'll be able to share with everybody, all of my Jonas Brothers, my newfound Jonas Brothers knowledge and experience listening to them. So
we look
stay
forward
tuned
to
for
that.
that.
I think that's going to be exciting for all of us, Dave.
Yeah.
It will be, and I think I have to check because my getting into the account manager hasn't been easy for the IC zone in the Moose tickets, but there is a Moose afternoon game. Someone already asked me for some tickets. I don't know how many he needs, so if you need a couple of tickets, maybe we've got some left over, and for sure we'll have, I believe, for Monday's game. So Dave at illegalcurve.com, or send me a message on the socials, and you can be seeing the Jets of tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow, when the Moose take on the Texas Stars here in Winnipeg. And, of course, speaking of stars, young stars, Kevin He, big game-winning goal for the Niagara Ice Dogs. So he scored yesterday. He's got 9 goals, 10 assists, 19 points in 13 games. And Sasha Boumedian had a big goal for Boston University, the Jets defenseman who they took first overall this year. So he scored. He's got 2 goals. His career high was 3 last year. He had 3 for the Terriers in 40 games. He's got 2 in 8 games, Drew. So he may be on pace, or he is on pace, to set a new career high in that regard.
There you go. We'll find out in a few hours' time if Vlad Nemesnikov can keep up with his goal-scoring prowess. Even Logan Stanley has turned into a sniper. We'll find out if that continues. Lots of Jets coverage to come all day long. You can keep it locked to illegalcurve.com, the YouTube channel. Make sure you're subscribed. Turn your notifications on. Be sure to join us in a few hours' time, right around 4:45 p.m. for more of the Illegal Curve coverage you've come to know and to tolerate, if not love altogether. Big thanks to all the sponsors for today's show: Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, Play Now, Holt Dental, City Place, Wheatland Hockey, Boston Pizza, and of course our friends at Label Daddy as well. Support these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve.
Frosty's got to update his his sponsors list there, Drew.
Yeah, he's got to add
he doesn't
Label
have
Daddy.
Label Daddy on there.
Yeah, come on, Frosty. Label Daddy. Add Label Daddy in there. In any event, we'll give him until this afternoon to add that onto the screen. Thanks to all of you for joining us. Have a great rest of your Saturday until we reconvene in about 5 hours' time. Let's go, Bombers. We want to see them play at home for the Grey Cup. We'll put on our biased caps when it comes to our Bombers coverage, as we want to cheer them on at home if they can go on the road and win 2 straight games. Jays coverage to come later. Jets and the Penguins still to come this afternoon. Have a great Saturday, everyone. For Dave Minuk, for Ezra Ginsburg, I'm your host, Drew Mandel. If it's Saturday, you know it, you love it. It's the Illegal Curve Hockey Show.